Good morning, everyone. Sarah Whitten of Sarah Whitten Voice and Yoga here. I'm going to wait just a few minutes for people to hop on so that Facebook can kind of send this out to folks. I am here today to talk to you about my biggest struggle as a young singer. And it came from just having like one interaction with a coach. And I'm going to tell you about that interaction. And then I'm going to talk about how that actually led to a victory for me in terms of what I do for work. And I really think that all of us have, we all have those struggles. And so I'm curious to know what your struggles are too. So I hope that you will share with me in the comments as we go along. So when I was deciding to go to grad school, I went and did the summer voice program at Chautauqua Institution. And I was 24 years old. I was getting ready to, fill out applications and put repertoire together. And I was there with people who were ending their first, ending their second year of graduate school at places like Juilliard, Manhattan, Boston Conservatory, Curtis, and then there was little old me. And I was there because when I was 17, I had had the opportunity to sing for Marlena Mollis, who ran the program. And I think she could read my 17-year-old self and know that I actually probably wasn't interested at that point in singing. So I sang for her, and she then said, "You're very good. If you decide you want to sing, come back and see me." And so at 24, I decided I wanted to sing, and I got in touch and ended up at the voice program. It was really an amazing opportunity for me. And while we were there were lots of opportunities to coach with people who were brought in from these different institutions. And so I had the opportunity to sing for a really well-known, well-talked about coach from Curtis. And it was what he said to me in that coaching that is what led me to where I am now. 22 years later. I sang Dave Yenny, I believe, in my coaching. And when I finished, he was quiet for a few minutes. And then he said, "If you want to sing like Barbra Streisand, you're in the wrong place." And it was said with snark. It was said with a sneer. And I was speechless. I was confused because I didn't know what he meant by that. Because on the one hand, I was like, she's really successful, but I get that you're using that as a criticism of me. And it was demeaning to me. And that was how he meant it. It was totally not constructive. And I'll be totally honest and say that I went back. I think it was right before lunchtime. I went back to where I was staying, and I had a good cry in my pillow because I was already feeling a little bit out of my league to be there with all of these other singers who were so good. And then I got this feedback that was confusing but clearly negative. And I spent the rest of that summer hiding. I did not sign up for coachings when people came. I dreaded the performances that I did have to do. And I just walked around knowing that there was something wrong with my singing, but I didn't know what. So fast forward to a year later, I accepted a fellowship at Ohio State, where I was beginning the first of what ended up being 2 master's degrees. And my first degree was in pedagogy. And so I was reading all of the pedagogy books, and I was learning so much about the voice and the anatomy and the physiology, and I loved all of that stuff. But right away in reading those books, I could recognize that my body was not like the bodies that were being described in these books. My breathing was not like the breathing that was being described in these books. And in fact, throughout my time at Ohio State and continuing on postgraduate, I continued to get the feedback about, your breathing is a little bit off, and you've got this tension in your upper body, in your neck, and your shoulders. But everyone was very happy to point out that something was going on, and no one could tell me what to do about it. So So I'm wondering how many of you who are watching this either live or on the replay, how many of you have ever gotten that kind of feedback where someone can point out something that's going on, but they don't necessarily have the ability to tell you why or what in the heck you're supposed to do about it? That was a really common experience for me in coachings. And I think what happened was that I internalized that so much that it was really a source of performance anxiety for me, because I just walked around thinking, there's something that isn't working right. I don't know what to do about it. And I have all these people around me who aren't directly kind of getting me through it. And I took that into the professional singing world where, I got work right away when I graduated. I think I am a good singer. I didn't have aspirations to go to the Met. I didn't want that kind of a life out of a suitcase, but I moved back to Boston, and I actually was accepted into an artist diploma program that I actually ended up backing out of, because when I started to work with the person who was running it, I realized it was just a terrible fit for me. And I really wanted to be out performing professionally at that point. So I chose not to do the AD program. But that comment down the line, I began to understand more. And that comment became the catalyst for the work that I do now, because I decided that I wanted to be the person who could solve those problems that singers were being told, this is what's wrong with you, but I don't know how to fix it. And so I really was on a quest as a young singer to figure out the body, to figure out the rest of what isn't happening in here, or even more about what's happening in here beyond the fact that it's like, the fuel for our voice. So that's how I have spent the last 22, 24 years, is studying that kind of stuff and applying it first to myself, and then bringing it into my teaching that I was doing at Harvard when I was on the faculty there for 13 years. And doing it now every day with singers who are coming to me or who are meeting with me on Zoom. I love the online element. There's an element of the in-person energy that I really miss. I'm an extrovert. I love interacting with people in person. But the online element is amazing. That yesterday at 11 a.m. my time, I was on Zoom with a young man who's a rock singer in the Netherlands. And before that, I was online with a woman in Canada, and earlier with someone from Singapore. So I have this wonderful opportunity to work with people around the globe. But it really was important to me that other people not have those experiences of that kind of feedback and then have it around their neck like a freaking albatross. And I shared a picture earlier of right after my first graduate recital, a picture with my brother who had driven up from North Carolina where he was living. He drove all the way to Ohio, which was really nice. He and his wife and their baby, now very grown young person, came to see me sing. And I look at that picture, and what I know is behind my smile was a huge sense of relief that recital was over. And I think I felt that way. It makes me a little bit emotional to say it, but I think I felt that way about every performance. I was just so grateful to be through with it. And I think about the people that I see who come to work with me and the level of emotion that it causes for them, because they're carrying their stories of those experiences. And that is why I do what I do, because I don't want people to continue to lug around the albatross of some insensitive jerk who issued some statement with no support of how to deal with it. So that was my struggle, was how do I address the fact that my breath and my body were not fully behind my voice? And really, isn't that what every singer is working on? And all I've done is, that demeans what I've done. I've done a lot, but all I've done is create a toolbox for myself and now for others to be able to address those things, to see the body, not just listen to the voice and not just see what's happening here. because that's what we all need. We all have those places in our body. Nobody's body is perfect. And when you're a singer and you're needing your voice to function at a really high level, you need a body that can also support that. And honestly, I mean, if you're just a human being, even if you're at a point where you're not performing, like I'm not performing anymore at this stage in my life, other than, you know, like around the house in the kitchen for fun with my kids, I still need a body that functions well. And I get a lot of people who aren't necessarily still performing, but they're just voice teachers, because you get your own share of aches and pains when you're sitting at a piano bench all day long. So that is the story, my tale for you today, about how that feedback, that awful, awful feedback, which was just stupid. Now I can look at it and say that was just stupid, but it was devastating to get that as a 24-year-old. That catalyzed me ultimately. I decided to not let it keep me down, that I wanted to find answers, and that's what I've done. So I would love to hear from you all, if you're watching this on the replay, to let me know what are the catalysts for you? What catalyzed you in your career? And I'm also curious to know, where are the places, if you're still singing, where are the places that you feel like your body is maybe not 100% on board with you, or your breath? And if you're not still singing, but you're teaching at this point, your body has needs too, right? What are those needs for you? Let's band together and be a community of voice professionals who know better how to address that stuff, and we stop giving shit advice to people and shit feedback that just makes them feel awful. Okay, there's the end of my Thursday Truth Day. I hope you all have an awesome day, and I will talk to you later.